Good morning and thanks for joining us. I'm Veronica Miller and this is Goodwill, Minnesota's Tell Me Something Good, the show that shares the good that is happening in our community. And I am thrilled to be able to share good news and good people with this show. So I want to also remind you that 11 o'clock today, you can listen to even more good news on WSRQ radio, and that's from 11 to noon. But also make sure you check out the latest version of Suncoast Living magazine, where we will also feature all our guests and more information about these important topics. And going back to the topics, this is our, fifth week talking about the Giving Challenge. And for those who don't know what the Giving Challenge is, make sure you go to thegivingchallenge.org. Did I say it right this time?
I believe so.
Okay, good. And what you'll find out is that many of the community foundations in our community have come together and are encouraging people to reach into their pockets and help wonderful organizations like Goodwill, Minnesota and the Florida Center for Early Childhood. And during this time is when you get to know more about these organizations. So again, having our wonderful sponsors who allow us to have this program, we can tell you about it. But just to remind you, the 2016 Giving Challenge is presented by the Community Foundation of Sarasota County with the financial strength of the Patterson Foundation and the Manatee Community Foundation, the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, the William G. and Marie Selby Foundation, and our friends at the Herald Tribune Media Group. So when you're making a donation from September 20th to the 21st, noon to noon, you can actually help our organizations, but more importantly, have your dollars matched. And I'm going to go into that as soon as we talk about why. Why would you want to give to Goodwill, Minnesota or the Florida Center for Early Childhood? Well, this topic today, we're going to talk about what another program for Goodwill, Minnesota, which we're going to talk about our Supported Jobs Plus program. And Morgan Howell, the program manager for Mission Partnerships, is on. So he'll be talking about that. And then we have the famous and wonderful Michelle Moreno, the Vice President of Marketing for the Florida Center. She's here with the Vice President of Clinical Services, Kristie Skoglund. And you're going to talk about fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. So these are important issues that we want to share with you. And again, when you're thinking about making a donation during the Giving Challenge, really know where your money's going and what kind of impact can your financial contribution help. So with that, why don't we talk about Supported Jobs Plus?
So Supported Jobs Plus is our program at Goodwill, Minnesota, where we partner with supported employment agencies in Sarasota, Manatee County, DeSoto and Hardy if we can, where people who require the services of a job coach, they have a significant barrier to employment, a developmental disability, a psychiatric disability or physical disability, require the services of a job coach where they come in and learn the jobs. Takes them about a little bit longer than everyone else, and then the job coach kind of fades away after a few months. We have about 105. It's about 20% of our workforce, in our retail workforce right now, totally self-funded to the sale of donated goods.
But with extra contributions, we can help more.
Yes,
so
we can
during
hire
this
more.
Giving
We can.
Challenge,
So right now we're 20%. We'd like to increase that. We'd like to increase our numbers. I'd like to get it to 25% one day, and I know Bob, our CEO, would like that too. Unemployment for people with disabilities is always twice as much as everyone else, and so we'd like to cut into that if we can. Absolutely.
And when we're talking about disabilities, we're talking about that triple amputee coming back from Iraq. Mm-hmm. We're talking about, we have many individuals that are blind. And, when the resumes come for an HR director, they're like, I'm sorry, and they're throwing them in the trash. They're the people we want.
Right. Right. They're as productive as everyone else.
Exactly.
And we pay them like anyone else. No one makes less than $8.50 an hour at Goodwill, and we pay them like anybody else who does the job.
And we have so many wonderful partners, don't we?
Community Haven, Loveland, I can name them all. Red Lion Jobs, Bowley Center,
Easter Seals.
Easter Seals. We have plenty of partners there.
Yeah.
And in different counties, too. We have Lenley of Tampa that comes down from Tampa.
Wow. And these are just wonderful individuals that, one of my favorites, he's been with us for close to 20 years, Doug.
Mm-hmm.
Doug has MS and is in a wheelchair. And for years, he would sit at the end of his driveway in his wheelchair and watch life go by. And that's when his mother contacted Goodwill and said, please, is there something you could do for Doug? So we try and find your ability. We don't look at your disability. What is your ability? And for 20 years, he's been thriving at Goodwill.
Yes. So what I do is I get an intake. I do an intake first and try to match the person with the job, and then we schedule the interview with the store manager. We always try to find what they're good at, and sometimes we'll bring them in and they don't like what they're doing. They seem to gravitate towards another position, so we like to train them doing that, whatever position they want to do.
Exactly, because
Leadership, we have SJP participants in our leadership role, so
yeah.
anything they're trained to do or experienced in doing, we'll
One
let
of
them
our
do.
best success stories.
All right, so I'm going to change her name.
Okay.
But when I wrote the story, it was Lily. So when she was 5 years old, they found that she had a tumor in the center of her brain the size of a lemon. And you couldn't operate on that. So what they did was they told the family to prepare for her death. And so a doctor decided to radiate the tumor, and which was even worse. It cooked parts of the brain, so it caused more brain damage than the actual tumor. So she picked out her own dress. She was 5 years old at the time to be buried in. Another doctor, she started getting national attention, so another doctor from Denver called and said, we have another way of getting rid of the tumor. There are some risks involved. So they brought her out to Denver. They did ultrasound on the tumor, which took out the tumor, but caused the rest, because of a cavity in the center, it caused the rest of the brain to fall in on itself, and she went into a coma. And they were going to make her an organ donor. So they were preparing another girl for her heart, and they noticed that when a custodian walked by her hospital room, he had his music playing, and there would be brain activity every time he walked by. So she actually woke up a month later and didn't remember her friends or her family or anybody, but was alive, and that's all that matters. So they moved to Sarasota to be under the care of a certain doctor. And then she just sat at home, not doing anything for years, wanting to get a job. Her only social outlet was going to the honorary location and shopping once a week with her mom. She'd fill out an application every time she went, and then finally was noticed by Shannon, the manager at that store. Hooked her up with me, we and Margie, and then hooked them up with Voc Rehab to get a job coach. And then we hired her in, and she's been here for 3 years now, almost 3 years. Her mother always said she never hung up her own clothes. After she started working for us for about 9 months, she not only hangs up her clothes, she hangs them up by category and by color, like we do in our stores. And she sings, and she never sang before. And so we have music piped into all of our stores, so she sings along with the music. And she still thanks Shannon. I just met with her a week ago. Still thanks Shannon for her job every day.
And Shannon is one of the best managers out there, and so many of our Goodwill Employees of the Year have come through her leadership.
Right.
But that's what Goodwill does, and I'm letting everyone who watches. Goodwill looks at your ability, not your disability, and we make sure that you have that dignity of a paycheck. Mm-hmm. And here's a wonderful story, a 5-year-old picking out her clothes that she's going to be buried in. And what a miracle story that it's turned around. And yes, she is a delight. Mm-hmm. And she also has a boyfriend.
She does. She went out on her first date recently.
This is, a whole new life for her. Instead of sitting on that driveway watching life go by, this is why I love my job. We can literally say we change lives through the power of work. And just that simple thing of feeling needed and knowing that you're just like, your brother or sister getting dressed up for work, to go to work.
Right.
I'm like you. you know. So.
And now she gets to pay bills like the rest of us.
Yay. Yay. That's the unfortunate part, but you know, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. I mean, you've seen some of the people that we...
and that's just one story. I have lots of them. But
we have 105.
105, and then, you know, not just the SJP program, but other programs that we have, lots of different wonderful stories.
And a lot of times when you're walking into the Goodwill store, you're not going to see a lot of visible disabilities. We have about 65% of our employees, though, have a disability or a barrier to employment. And many you don't see, which is great, because when we prepare them for the job, that's it. I mean, you are just like the norm. Everyone else, all collectively, you're just a team member helping Goodwill advance their mission.
Exactly.
And some of the positions, I mean, we have, like I said, a few blind individuals that are hangers, and you're like, I'm sorry.
They tag their own clothing.
Yeah.
Some of them, they've been taught, I mean, you know, we tag in the T of the seam, and so they've learned how to tag. Amazing.
And their sense of touch is more intense than ours. So they're able to see, feel, turn it around, make sure it's in the front. Oh, this has a rip, put it to the side. I mean, it's amazing. In fact, one time the lights went out, the electricity went out, and one of our employees that was blind saying, I'm good, I don't gotta leave. And he made a joke out of it, but it's just amazing just knowing that these individuals have a steady job, a steady paycheck, and are contributing members in the society. That makes them feel so important, and I love that part of our job.
Me too.
Aw. So, again, if you're interested to know more about the Supported Jobs Plus program, as I offer every week, give us a call. Go to experiencegoodwill.org and reach out to us. We would love to give you a behind-the-scenes tour. We want to show you, when you donate that orange shirt, the whole river where it goes through before it comes out and creates a job. So you see the people who are processing the donation, because we want to make sure every one of your donations has a major impact, and we are good stewards of your donation, because that is money to us that helps provide more jobs in Goodwill and in our community for those who have a disability or barrier to employment.
You know, and last year, I don't really tell a lot of people this, but the payroll budget last year for the Supported Jobs Plus program was $1.1 million. So that's a lot of money that we're paying out to people with significant disabilities. Yeah,
because a lot of people, they're like, well, if they're not 100% productive, do you pay them less? No, we do not. We make sure that everyone is equal and everyone is paid at least a minimum wage. So I love Goodwill.
Me too.
So, and I love the Florida Center for Early Childhood. So, Michelle, what are we going to talk about?
Well, thanks to our sponsors, Cool Today and Good News Pest Solutions, our campaign, as you well know, is Be Cool, Do Good, and Be the One.
Yes.
During the Giving Challenge this year. And so I'm a huge fan of Goodwill Minnesota's programs and love to shop, by the way.
Thank you.
Nice to shop and know that your dollars are helping other people have gainful employment. So I'm a big fan. And Kristie's going to tell you a little bit about the Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorders Clinic at the Florida Center today.
All right. So at the Florida Center, we have the state's only Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorders Clinic. So when I say that, it literally is the only one in the state that operates in the way that it does. So we have folks coming from all over the state to be evaluated in our clinic.
Wow.
Our clinic essentially looks at evaluating how the impact of alcohol has impacted a particular individual, and most often it's children between the ages of, say, infancy and 17, 18 years, how the impact of prenatal alcohol exposure has affected them in their life.
Wow. So how many, you say they come from all over, how many yearly do you?
So our program is 100%, I shouldn't say, it's practically 100%. We get some funding from the community through the Sarasota County government, and it is funded through the state of Florida primarily, and we are able through that contract to serve about 60 families a year, which isn't a lot. So
Any additional funding, you could do a lot more.
absolutely. I mean, we have a wait list now moving into, I mean, it's several months out because we require such a vast amount of information prior to evaluating these children. So we can't schedule an appointment right away because we need to have a lot of information prior to scheduling. So it's not a waste of the family's time when they come here, because like I said, families are sometimes coming from the Panhandle, they're coming from Miami. We've even had families come from Key West. They're coming from all over the state of Florida. A majority of them are coming from our local area because they know about us more so, but we do have families coming from all over the state. So we want to make sure that this evaluation is as productive as it can be and that we have enough information to help guide our diagnostic evaluation.
Because you want it to be accurate, and
Yes.
so that is very important to make sure all your ducks are in a row.
Kristie, can you tell the folks a little bit about how the evaluation is, all the different areas that you're looking at?
Yeah, so our evaluation is what we call a multidisciplinary team approach. So that means that we have several professionals involved in the evaluation process. We have a psychologist, a mental health therapist, we have a speech and language pathologist, and we have an occupational therapist. And of course we have the family and the child that are there. These evaluations can take anywhere from 4 to 6 hours because each one of these individuals must do their own separate evaluation of that child on the same day. So when families come, they are there for a while. They're there for several hours. And what we're really looking at is the impact of alcohol, prenatal alcohol exposure on the brain. So we know that alcohol, we've known this for over 40 years, that alcohol is the most damaging substance that a mother can consume during her pregnancy. Many people don't know that. Many people think that it's other drugs. We hear a lot about narcotics right now, prescription pain pill use, and those are not good for a growing fetus. But alcohol is the most damaging because it's what's considered a teratogen, which by definition is something that will damage or destroy cells as they're literally forming in the fetus. So when cells are migrating in the woman's belly to become, say, the heart or the brain or any other organ, the consumption of alcohol literally during that fetal development can damage or destroy that particular process. So, of course, the brain is developing throughout the entire pregnancy. So central nervous system development is what is most impacted when a baby is in the mother's womb and the mother consumes alcohol. So that's what we're looking at. And oftentimes you can see the impact of the alcohol exposure in many different ways. Most folks have heard of fetal alcohol syndrome, which is the most severe outcome of a mother using alcohol during her pregnancy at high volumes during the entire pregnancy. But most children don't have fetal alcohol syndrome. That's a pretty severe impact. Most have the impact of a mother drinking in small quantities but frequently throughout the pregnancy. And so they have what we call alcohol-related neurodevelopmental disorders. So these
that's a
are
mouthful.
alcohol-related neurodevelopmental disorders. So these are children who may look normal, who might not have the facial features that we associate with fetal alcohol syndrome, that might not have the growth deficiencies that we associate with fetal alcohol syndrome, but they have very clear central nervous system or brain differences. They sometimes don't learn as quickly as others. They have educational issues, behavioral challenges. They tend to have really high verbal skills, so they can talk very eloquently with you, so it makes you think that their intelligence is much higher than it is. but when they're expected to perform in the moment, they often don't perform correctly. They don't follow rules, but they can tell you what the rules are. So oftentimes you see in school systems or in households, you see caregivers becoming very frustrated with these students because they can tell you what the rules are, but they're not following them. So it looks like it's willful disobedience. So these are the children that often get overlooked in schools and are often seen as behavioral challenges in schools and homes. So we try to educate families by doing this diagnostic evaluation, help them understand the various domains of impact by having these various evaluations. So families have an idea of how to move forward and how to best support their child in the environment that they go to school and live in.
So there's really no cure. It's really how you can adjust to that child's behavior.
There isn't a cure, but what we do know is that through appropriate intervention, that we know the brain can find new pathways to do things, right? So one of the examples we like to use is that, a 50 or 60-year-old brain can have a stroke, but we wouldn't say, sorry, your brain's too old, no help for you, right? We say, no, go to therapy, you can regain your speech, you can regain these things, because the brain it can find new pathways to create those functions that have been lost. So we know that it can happen. It may not be to the level that it could have been or was, but we know that the brain can find new pathways with supportive, what we like to call accommodations. They're not excuses, they're not ways to keep children or who again grow into adults who will need to work and be productive in our community. It's not a way just letting them get away with things, it's helping them be successful in their environment. So if we know a particular route of intervention is not working, we want to accommodate that in a way that's going to help that individual be more successful.
You always see, if you're pregnant, don't drink. You explained it way more than any of these marketing campaigns. And, for anyone who is pregnant and says, oh, well, this little beer won't hurt, it does.
It does. And the unfortunate part is, OBGYNs are experts in helping a mom while she's pregnant. They know a little bit, and some may know more than others, but they're not experts in this area. And so oftentimes during the third trimester is when we're told that it's okay to have a little. The problem with that is that there's no research that says that there's any safe amount of alcohol that you can use during your pregnancy. So we like to compare drinking a little here and there to Russian roulette. And you really wouldn't want to take the chance that you're going to harm your child.
Exactly.
It's a life sentence for you, and it's a life sentence for your child. So we really just don't want to take chances with it. We can always have alcohol when the baby's born healthy, and it's not so. And for women who do have a true have the disease, who do have alcoholism, we certainly want to encourage those women to seek help, because we know that is something that needs to be addressed, and the baby is being impacted.
So you're saying people from all over the state come to the Florida Center. So there's nobody else doing this in our area?
No. So no, not the way that we're doing it in this, which is really the best way to do these evaluations, these multidisciplinary approaches, because you're looking at the whole child. You're not just looking at their difficulty in focusing and paying attention. You're not just looking at their fine motor delays. You're not just looking at their speech and language delays. You're looking at all of this in totality and coming up with a plan. They leave our clinic with a plan and with recommendations.
And so for you, the viewer, when you're looking at making a donation to an organization, find one that is not duplicating any other service out there. And exactly what Kristie and Michelle were talking about, the Florida Center for Early Childhood is a jewel in this community and is leading the way for this. Its entire state, it seems like. This is fabulous. When a family is in need, you can turn to the Florida Center and know that you're going to have a comprehensive program, not just, Susie Q is having a speech problem, or, Tommy isn't used to being socialized. You looked at the entire spectrum and put together a plan, and you work with the parents.
Absolutely. Kristie and her team are trained in Families Moving Forward, which is one of the best practices for helping families who have an individual on the fetal alcohol spectrum disorder to really be productive and successful. Much like the Supported Jobs program, it's kind of like coaching and support for that family. So they're amazing, and one of the things that they do is training throughout the state of Florida so that people can learn to prevent the FASD, fetal alcohol spectrum disorders, and to be more educated. The more we know, the more we can prevent it, the more we can make a difference.
Absolutely. And education is important, and that's why I love this show, because we provide education. Education is power, and now you have the power from all the knowledge that we gave you to make a difference. And your financial contributions can make that impact. So again, I hope that you will consider donating to Goodwill, Minnesota and the Florida Center for Early Childhood during the Giving Challenge. Again, September 20th through the 21st, noon to noon. Check out our website, experiencegoodwill.org or thefloridacenter.org. And thanks to our friends at Cool Today and Good News Pest Solutions, your donations can be matched in addition to the Community Foundation, the Patterson Foundation, and all the other wonderful organizations I've mentioned. So why not join the Be Cool, Do Good movement, and you can be the one to help both of our organizations advance our mission and help more individuals. Help more individuals that have a severe disability to find employment and have that strengthening tool to become supporting members of their family or society, and just be normal. I mean, and the normal that I'm talking about is, I want to be like, Tommy, I want to be like Susie. Collectively, that's what Goodwill does. Looks at your ability, not your disability, and the fabulous folks at the Florida Center for Early Childhood works with all these children and giving them a better future and empowering better families. I love it. Love it. Any parting words?
If you'd like to know more about the fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, we also have FASD.org. It's completely dedicated to providing information about FASD throughout the country.
Wow.
So it's another great resource.
And also contact the Florida Center for a tour. I mean, that's when you're going to physically see where your money's going and see the wonderful children and the fabulous staff. You have fabulous staff. We have fabulous staff. Actually, here's some of our wonderful folks being cool in their Cool Today sunglasses. And again, you can be cool and do good and be the one for Goodwill, Minnesota and the Florida Center during the Giving Challenge. So I want to thank you for sharing your Sunday with us and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
That will look great on you. Every time you shop here, you have the power to change lives.
Does she work here?
No, she's just a proud supporter of Goodwill.